and so the heroes set forth. It is there they discover that Taisa is one of the witches of the local swamp coven. She assists Donan in preparing the ritual to reforge the Soul Stone, gathering rare reagents while also helping mend the Horadrim's shattered spirit. Since the death of his son, Donan has been consumed by grief, unable to focus on the task before him. Using a potent brew of the coven's making, Taisa allows Donan to see the soul of his dead son one final time and bid him farewell properly. At last, finding the strength to continue, Donan successfully reforges the Soul Stone. Meanwhile, Lorath and Nyrel seek a source of forbidden wisdom hidden deep within the jungle. Their search ultimately leads them to the Tree of Whispers, an ancient and dreadful place where severed heads hang from twisted branches like rotten fruit. Through those stolen heads, the tree speaks. It reveals that Elias once came before it, seeking the knowledge required to summon Lilith into sanctuary. In exchange, he agreed that after death his head would remain forever hanging among the others, upon the tree's branches. But the fallen Horadrim deceived it. Somehow, Elias found a way to escape death itself. The tree does not know how, but it points the heroes toward a strange place upon the coast, where Elias repeatedly journeyed in secret. Lorath, Nyrel, and the Wanderer travel to the shoreline, where the coast lies buried beneath the wreckage of countless shattered ships. Entire hordes of drowned undead roam among the ruins. One of the creatures bites Nyrel's arm, and supernatural necrosis rapidly spreads through her body. To prevent her from becoming one of the monsters, Lorath severs the infected limb himself. He remains behind, to care for the wounded girl while the Wanderer investigates Elias's hidden sanctuary alone. There, the Wanderer discovers a strange coffin. The Tree of Whispers reveals that it serves as a portal to the place where Elias obtained his immortality. The Wanderer lies within, and the coffin sinks beneath the dark waters. Yet instead of drowning, he awakens within an ancient submerged temple. There, the truth of Elias's immortality is finally revealed. Whoever leaves a piece of their flesh within this cursed place is reborn instantly after death. Deep inside the flooded ruins, the Wanderer finds a severed finger bone belonging to Elias and carries it back to the surface. The heroes reunite at last. The next step in their plan is to attune the Soul Stone to the correct demon. Since Lilith is the daughter of hatred, the stone must be steeped in that very emotion. Fortune, grim as ever, places the perfect source nearby, the sarcophagus of Kwehigan Sankakur, the great patriarch of Zakarum, who was betrayed and murdered by his own followers after Mephisto corrupted them. Long ago, heroes sought Sankakur's remains in order to enter the Temple of Kurest and defeat the Lord of Hatred himself. At the sarcophagus, Donan and Nyrel perform the ritual while Taisa, Lorath, and the Wanderer battle Elias, who finally realizes that he is no longer immortal. As death closes around him, the fallen Horadrim insists one last time that he has no regrets, that everything he did was necessary. Taisa silences him by cutting his throat. At that moment, a massive raven descends from the jungle, tears Elias's head free, and carries it into the darkness beneath the dreadful laughter of the Tree of Whispers. The heroes celebrate their victory, but soon realize Lorath has vanished. He had gone to the Tree of Whispers and bargained away his own head after death in exchange for knowledge of Lilith's plans. The tree accepts and reveals the truth. Lilith is heading toward the gates of hell hidden beneath Chaldeum, once the jeweled heart of the desert, the very city where, 50 years earlier, the Nephilim slew Belial, Lord of Lies, and one of the lesser evils. The heroes journey there, learning along the way that Inarius has already marched upon Chaldeum at the head of the Knights Penitent. By the time they arrive, the Archangel has already taken command of the city, yet Inarius rejects the aid of the Horadrim, confiscates the Soul Stone, and refuses all association with them. Even so, the heroes join the penitent knights in the desperate assault toward the gates of hell. On the path through the infernal war zone, the Wanderer encounters Duriel, Lord of Pain, another of the lesser evils. After a savage battle, the Wanderer succeeds in defeating the demon. But by then, Inarius and his army have already passed through the gate Lilith opened into hell itself. While the penitent knights wage hopeless war against endless demons, The former lovers and creators of Sanctuary finally confront one another alone. Inarius believes that by killing Lilith, he will at last earn heaven's forgiveness and be welcomed back into the high heavens from which he was exiled under pact with Hell. The archangel drives his spear through Lilith's body, but the heavens remain silent. Desperate, Inarius cries out, demanding to know what more he must do to be forgiven. In that moment, Lilith, still alive, plunges the spear into his back and tears away his wings. She calls him a fool who never understood that heaven no longer had any need of him. Inarius dies, and hell itself consumes his remains. Leaderless, the army of penitent knights is utterly annihilated, torn apart by the demonic hordes. It is in the aftermath of this slaughter that the Wanderer and the Haradrim arrive. They find Reverend Mother Prava barely clinging to life. The heroes manage to save her, and she escapes back to Sanctuary through the gate. Before she leaves, they reclaim the Soul Stone from her possession, the very stone Inarius entrusted her to guard. Fighting through endless legions of demons, the heroes eventually discover a temporary refuge. But there, Donan is revealed to be mortally wounded. As death approaches, he begs Lorath not to leave his body behind in hell. Soon after, the old Haradrim dies. The Wanderer once more uses the sightless eye to locate Lilith. She has already reached the domain of her father, guided there by Astaroth, with whom she had struck her bargain. But once again the daughter of hatred senses the gaze upon her. This time she traps the Wanderer within his own mind, assaulting him with visions and nightmares drawn from his past. Once more, salvation comes in the form of the Black Wolf, Mephisto. Again the Lord of Hatred offers an alliance against Lilith. When the Wanderer awakens, Lorath chooses to remain behind with Donan's body. Neyrelle and the Wanderer continue onward alone toward Mephisto's palace. Along the way, the wolf appears before them again. This time, Neyrelle sees him as well. She immediately realizes his true identity and is horrified that the Wanderer has been consorting all this time with one of the greater evils. Mephisto opens a portal directly into the heart of his palace, allowing the heroes to move ahead of Lilith herself. There, Neyrelle proposes a daring plan. Instead of imprisoning Lilith, they will seal Mephisto within the Soul Stone. As for Lilith, the Wanderer can defeat her by force alone. After all, he has already slain 2 lesser evils. When they finally reach the cocoon where Mephisto is reforming, the Wanderer tells Neyrelle to decide for herself what must be done, no longer trusting his own judgment beneath the influence of Hell's powers. And so Neyrelle thrusts the Soul Stone into the cocoon, imprisoning the prime evil once more within a shard of the World Stone. Afterward, the Wanderer orders her to flee back to Lorath as quickly as possible, while he remains behind to face the Mother of Sanctuary alone. Lilith does not keep him waiting long. After a catastrophic battle, the Wanderer finally defeats the demoness. As she dies, Lilith laments the choices humanity has made, and the Wanderer's choice above all others. She warns that without her, true victory will never be possible. With those final words, the daughter of hatred crumbles into ash. The Wanderer returns to Lorath, only to learn that Neyrelle never came back. Together, the 2 survivors carry Donan's body to his estate and bury him beside his wife and son. There, Lorath discovers a letter left behind by Neyrelle. The young Haradrim has chosen to leave on her own, wandering the world with Mephisto's Soul Stone in hopes of containing the Lord of Hatred's influence. Lorath, having seen such stories before throughout the long history of the Haradrim, can only pray that her decision does not bring about another catastrophe upon a sanctuary that has never once known peace. The surviving Reverend Mother Prava returns to the Cathedral of Light and blames the Haradrim for Inarius's death, sending her knights in pursuit of Lorath. And the Wanderer departs once more into the endless roads of Sanctuary, slaying monsters, aiding the desperate, and waiting for the call of fate to summon him again to battle for the future of mankind. Neyrelle, now burdened with the Soul Stone imprisoning Mephisto, journeys toward Nahantu, but before long, cracks begin to spread through her mind and spirit. The influence of one of the most terrifying powers in existence is far too great. With every passing hour, the young woman sinks deeper into darkness and madness, while her very presence brings horror, death, and ruin upon all who cross her path. Following the fall of Lilith, and the death of Inarius, Sanctuary is left fractured and unstable. Reverend Mother Prava survives the horrors beneath hell and attempts to restore order within the Cathedral of Light. However, a dangerous new figure rises beside her, Urivar, the Burned Knight. Fanatically devoted to Inarius's teachings, Urivar believes Sanctuary can only be purified through ruthless judgment and violence. At a public execution in Kiovashad, Urivar burns a prisoner alive for aiding Lorath Nar and Neyrel. Though Prava remains silent during the spectacle, it becomes clear she is disturbed by the cathedral's growing extremism. Urivar's influence over the faithful grows rapidly, while Prava struggles to maintain control. The Wanderer soon becomes Urivar's next target. Branded an ally of the Horadrim, the Wanderer races to warn Lorath before the cathedral can capture him. Arriving at Lorath's cabin too late, the Wanderer finds signs of a violent struggle and meets Nawal, a wounded woman searching for Lorath. She reveals that Neyrel has been seen in the coastal city of Geakul, watched over by a man named Rahir. Prava unexpectedly appears and claims she wants to protect Neyrel from Urivar's fanaticism. Though her motives remain questionable, she warns that Urivar's obsession with the Soul Stone threatens everyone involved. With little time remaining, the Wanderer travels south toward Geakul. When the Wanderer reaches Geakul, the city is suffering from a horrifying plague. A sickness spreads through the streets, warping creatures and people alike into monstrous beings known as the Hollows. Rahir explains that the corruption began shortly after Neyrel passed through the region, carrying Mephisto's Soul Stone. Rahir reveals that Lorath had been following Neyrel, but vanished deeper within Nahantu. Neyrel herself continued south, searching for answers about Mephisto and the Soul Stone. Despite his responsibilities to Geakul and his daughter, Rahir agrees to help. Together, the Wanderer and Rahir battle waves of hollows overrunning the city. These creatures are grotesque manifestations of Mephisto's corruption, spreading decay throughout Nahantu. Though the immediate danger is contained, the source of the plague remains active. As they track the corruption deeper into the wilderness, Rahir is eventually ambushed by Urivar's soldiers. His arm is severed, and Urivar demands to know Neyrel's location. Before the Wanderer can respond, a vision of Neyrel appears near a ruined canoe, chanting over the Soul Stone. Distracted, the Wanderer is stabbed by Urivar and thrown into the river. The Wanderer awakens later under the care of Eru, a spirit-born elder from Nahantu. Eru explains that the corruption spreading through the land is tied directly to Mephisto's growing influence within the Soul Stone. Though wary of outsiders, Eru agrees to help locate Neyrel. Rahir survives his injuries and rejoins the group. Unable to return safely to Geakul after Urivar's attack, he guides the Wanderer and Eru toward Kuras Docks, where Neyrel's trail continues. At Kuras Docks, the devastation caused by Neyrel's journey becomes even more apparent. Entire homes are infected by corruption, and those who aided her have died horrible deaths. The Wanderer discovers records detailing Mephisto's original imprisonment beneath Travancore and the downfall of the Zakarum. Long ago, Mephisto was imprisoned beneath the city within a Soul Stone. Though the Zakarum believed they could contain him, Mephisto slowly corrupted them from within until the entire faith collapsed into madness and violence. Neyrel has clearly been studying this history, hoping to avoid repeating the same mistakes. Before entering Travancore, Eru guides the Wanderer to a sacred ritual site where the spirit of Akarat appears. Akarat grants the Wanderer a blessing of light capable of resisting Mephisto's corruption, though he warns that Neyrel's fate ultimately depends on her own strength. Inside the ruins of Travancore and the durance of hate, the corruption intensifies. The Wanderer eventually finds Neyrel kneeling atop a stone pillar, desperately trying to suppress Mephisto's influence through prayer. She is visibly exhausted and mentally deteriorating. Mephisto himself soon appears in the form of a massive wolf. He taunts the Wanderer, accusing them of forcing Neyrel to shoulder the impossible burden of imprisoning a primeval. He claims the Soul Stone is killing her and offers a bargain. Release him, and Neyrel's suffering will end. The Wanderer refuses. As hollows swarm the chamber, the spirit of Akarat intervenes in the form of a radiant lion.